welcome back. I hope you had a nice cup of tea and a sit down, perhaps even a biscuit to finish the week. So we've got great presenters to finish off for our last session of the day. I'm going to throw very momentarily to Sue Tompkinson. She's going to be speaking to her perspective on e-bikes from Eva, and then Wolfgang Rothman, who will be speaking after her at this point. So with that, I'll throw it across to Sue.
Hi to everybody. I'm from Victoria. Gather we're going national. I'm a passionate e-bike rider, very nervous too, I might say. And I used to ride a normal bike but stopped doing that for a variety of reasons, to do with age and knee problems, and also living in a hilly town. So I stopped riding altogether until I found the e-bike. When I started riding this new toy, people would say things to me like, oh, that's just cheating, that's just an electric bike, and a lot more comments that really annoyed me. So as a result, I've taken up the challenge to change this thinking, hence the title of my presentation. An e-bike is not cheating if the alternative is hopping in a car. So let's assume that you are considering buying an e-bike, and we'll go into having a look at why you might get one and what sort of bikes you would get. With a normal bike, people ride it for a range of reasons: car replacement and other environmental reasons, for the convenience of parking, for exercise, or just for fun. An e-bike covers all of those top ones, but it also adds some other things. Might actually get you on a bike or get you back on a bike, which it did for me in my case. It gets you to your destination quicker and you arrive without sweating. It equalises riders of different abilities. Hills and headwinds are never a problem. Carrying weight is so much easier if you've got a motor, and it is exercise. Some of the concept of cheating also comes from the misconception that it is actually not exercising. But current research is showing us that it does have definite, clear cardiovascular benefits, up to about 90% equivalent to a normal bike rider. And they think that's because people tackle more hills with an e-bike, they ride further, and they ride more often. When buying a normal bike, you used to probably just go by brand. You'd say go in and buy a Giant bike, or in the very olden days, a Malvern Star or something similar. But today you actually need to be a bit more informed, because buying an e-bike by brand alone doesn't always give you the best fit for you. The first thing to think about when you're looking at buying a bike is what type of bike you would want. There are 5 different styles of e-bikes. There's the commuting, the shopping, or what they call utility bikes. It's pretty much the same as what most people are used to seeing, just for normal riding, for fun, for any other general purpose. Then you have touring bikes, which tend to be a little bit more sturdy in the frame, also tend to be a little bit lighter in the frame, but built to carry weight. Then you've got mountain bikes, and they've got nothing on them, absolutely nothing except suspension and a motor. My understanding is on a mountain bike that it is more important to give consideration to the torque in the motor than anything else. Then there's cargo and delivery bikes. You might want it for work. You might want it for carrying goods and chattels, going shopping, taking the kids, or going out for a fun ride. The 5th and last one is the folders or compacts. And as you can see, they fold down quite small and are used for people in small spaces, I guess, apartments, people commuting who want to get off the train and unfold the bike and ride to their destination, and also used fairly regularly with people with caravans. So what's different? An e-bike assists pedalling by providing electricity from a battery. And these are the three components that are actually the most important, or they're available for every single system. So you've got a motor, a battery, and a controller or a computer. I'm just going to turn the page. I'm sorry if it's making a noise. This is an example only of a Bosch system. There are hundreds more. There's different varieties, but they all have a motor, a battery, and a controller. In Australia, you can go anywhere with an e-bike that you can go to with a normal bike. You don't need a license, you don't need to register it, but you have the same rights and responsibilities on the road as a car does. However, across the world, there are lots of variations in regulations. In Australia, all electric bikes have pedal assist systems which provide power when pedalling and are speed limited to 25 kilometres an hour. Basically, there's two different types of propulsion. One is what they call a pedelec, and that is where you have to pedal and it gives you 250 watts. The power assist is the second one, and it can have a throttle on it. But notice the wattage is a little different, and the throttle adds the extra. You can actually ride these without pedaling, only with the throttle, but they only go at about 6 kilometres an hour, so it's pretty slow. Motors, just let's have a quick look at motors. I'm not going to go into a comparison or give you the goods and the bads of each because I don't have the time today. I'll just describe them to you. This one is what they call a mid-drive motor, and it sits in the centre of the bike near the pedals. It's generally been built into the frame and it powers through the drivetrain. The other ones are the hub motors, which sit inside the rear and front wheel. This is a front wheel one. It tends to pull the bike along. This is the rear one. It tends to push the bike along. They tend to be a little bit cheaper than the mid-range. And the mid-range one does tend to centre the weight better a little bit on the bike. What I do get asked many times is how far can I go on my battery? I've just taken a couple of screenshots to give you a bit of an idea of the variability in what that actually means. It's pretty much the same as an electric vehicle of any sort. It's affected by the terrain, the hills or the flats. It's affected by how fast you go. It's affected by wind, whether you've got a tailwind or a headwind. So it's pretty much the same for that. On this one, I've set it on a medium power setting, which is the tour setting here in the middle. I've set it on a pretty standard flat terrain with a light breeze. So I get 68 kilometres. When I change the terrain, I get less. All of these are the same, all the conditions are the same. I'm travelling at the same speed. It drops by about 14 kilometres. Then the last little one shows you the difference between if you drop back, how much assistance you're using out of your motor, it nearly doubles. So the variation can be entirely dependent on all of those circumstances. Brakes are pretty important on an electric bike. These are the most common. They're what they call rim brakes, and they're the ones we're used to. These come now pretty much as a standard on e-bikes. That's disc brakes fitted into the wheel. And the other one is this little one down here called a roller brake, which is fitted into the actual hub of the wheel. The rim brakes tend to be a lot cheaper than both of these options. So if you are happy with rim brakes, you could probably go for a cheaper bike. These are the gearing systems. This is the one we're most used to. That's the derailleur. But we now have a thing called hub gears, which sit inside a cylinder and is fitted to the back wheel. It's really clean. Often comes with what they call a carbon belt, which does tend to last a little bit longer than a chain. This is one of the important parts of your machine. It does all the controlling of your battery and your motor. I've given two examples here. One is the Bosch system and this one is the Shimano. They'll all tell you the same things. On this one, it tells me I've used 4 out of 5 bars, which means I've used some of my power. I'm travelling in the second highest level of assistance, and I'm travelling at this rate of speed. Some bikes now come with the option to have to use your smartphone and an app, so you can make that choice when you're purchasing your bike. What are the prices? This varies immensely. From about 2,500 to 6,000, you can get a good e-bike. But all of that is dependent on the components that you choose. For example, on my bike, the battery itself is $1,500 and the computer is another $200 and the charger is another $200. So that takes it up to about $2,000 before you even look at the frame or the motoring system. Motoring systems generally, the mid-frame motor is generally the most expensive, and of those two, the Bosch and the Shimano are at the top of the range. After that, you can go, if you've got all the money in the world, you can go a bit further, and I think I've seen them up to about 40 grand. So you can please yourself if you've got the money to spend. However, if it is too expensive, you could try either of these options down below here. There is novated leasing available now through eAustralian. And you can also rent to own in Victoria and New South Wales via Ride Zumo. What do you do in the end? Make a list of the things that are important to you. What style of bike you want? Do you care what colour it is? Do you need a step through? Is compactivity important? Is weight important? And also at the same time, consider that your needs may actually change. You may change the way you ride. You might start off thinking I'm only going to the shops, but in essence, you may end up touring or doing something similar. Once you've decided on the style and the type and the bike, you test ride, test ride and test ride. Don't go in and buy the first one because they all ride differently. And then once you've decided on the bike, get the best fit and the frame size and the saddle, and have someone help you do that. That's all from me. If you've got any questions, I'm sure I'd be happy to answer them.
Excellent. Thank you, Sue. So just for the benefit of everyone, perhaps even just the presenters, I think, because the delegates, I think, would know by now, we do the questions at the end of the 3 speaking spots. So we'll bring you back in for that one, Sue. So feel free to put yourself on mute, obviously, and just obviously have a watch.